Tactical Production Studio, welcome to Tactical Tuesday, streaming live on YouTube and simulcasting as always on GunChannels.com. To check out our entire lineup of videos, podcasts, and live shows, please visit our website, www.ghosttacticalproductions.com.
What is going on, my Ghost Squad? Welcome to Tactical Tuesday. Today is Tuesday, December 18th, 2018. We are live as always on YouTube and simulcasting as always on GunChannels.com. If you're not familiar with GunChannels.com, I'm going to put a link out there in the chat. Come over and check us out. It's a great community started by G-Webs about 5 years ago. It's a great two-way pro-gun community where you have 24-hour live lobby chats, any kind of questions that you want to have, or just have a discussion with mind-liked people. Come on over and check us out. So speaking of gun channels, let's see who all's over there. We got the Snobs over there. He's hanging out in no man's land, but he is over there. We're going to do the call outs over on YouTube. If you're new to the show or new to the channel, welcome everybody. Go ahead and say hello in the chat. We don't know if you're here unless you say something, but we're going to do a quick shout out to everybody out there and get going into the chat itself. We've got a lot of things to talk about. Some interesting news came down the line today, so we'll obviously bring that up. We all know what we're talking about here, but we're asking everybody real quick, if you haven't already, go ahead and click that subscribe button. Click the thumbs up. Reason why we ask you to do that is it tells YouTube that you like what you're hearing or you like this content, and it helps promote this message out to more people. So let's get those thumbs up out there real quick and see if we can match thumbs with watchers. So let's go ahead and say hello to everybody out in the chat. You got Off the X's out there. Lance and I had some really good practice and did some shooting this weekend together, so it was nice to shoot with him again. And Buck came up. Gun-loving Grandpa Stanley came up to shoot with us this Sunday. So go check out that video, the fun shoot video, and we had a great time. But Off the X is out there. Guitar Man Pete, John Brown Productions is out there. You've got we had a nice little conversation going there, didn't we? I didn't realize it. The Snobs out there. Joe Ziola is out there. Seven Wonders, gun-loving Grandpa Stanley. Let's see here. Let me scroll down. Blue Steel 44 is out there. Black Cat Outdoors. What's going on, RL? He said, what's up? He says, are you going to mention the Trump Bumpstock move tonight? It is in the title, my man. It is in the title. We shall talk about it. The Pope Joy. Caleb keeps changing his name, but he's the Pope Joy now, I guess. Andrew Faulkner's out there. Mad Sexy's out there. Tennessee Patriot. Keith Gregory. Drucifer. M-W Tactical. Magic Mike's out there. Ashley, my homegirl Ashley's out there. What's going on, Ashley? Rob D's out there. WB. Hey, what's up, my buddy? Gizzard Gary's out there, the Tactical Chicken. Let's see here. Squibload. What's up, Squib? Walter Miner's out there. Raphael. My man, Roth. Mr. Bean's out there. Let's see here. Lance says, sup, everybody. Sup, everybody. So, Local 223's out there. Zorro's out there. Arminthia's out there. That guy's wife. Southpaw RX is out there. D-Temp's out there. It's nice to see Kendall Robinson's out there. If I missed anybody, I apologize. I don't mean to not mention you, but Mad Sexy has a quick question. Go ahead, my man. Go ahead. That reminds me, if you have a question for myself or anyone on the panel, go ahead. If you're in the chat, go ahead and tag one of us, and we'll try to get those questions answered. Or you can email it to live@ghosttactical.us, or you can text it to 530-36-GHOST. Or if you don't like spelling, it's 530-364-4678.
Do that one more time.
530.
No, the little move you did. Stay alive. Stay alive. Hook his mic.
I can hear you. Can you hear me? Oh, so we lost Ghost. Or am I the only one? I think Clove, you're muted. Ghost.
I hear you, Mike.
Yeah, Ghost is lost right now.
But he bumped something.
Yeah, see, that's what y'all get for dancing. We should have been talking, y'all. Y'all over there dancing.
He'll get it. He'll get it fixed in a minute. It's all good.
Yeah.
You unplug something, man. If you can hear us, had to.
All right. So until he comes back, hey, can you tell us a little bit about this? Y'all gave away a shotgun.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah. So how did that turn out?
Well, it was pretty good. We had 191 people
What?
signed up for that. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a big turnout right there.
Yeah, it was pretty good. It was pretty good. Could have been a whole lot better, I guess. But yeah, from giveaways I've done in the past or whatever. Yeah.
So who was the lucky winner?
Gun Snob.
What?
Yeah, he did good. And you know what's weird is there was like multiple entries,
Right.
and he had 42 entries. So imagine that. The answer to life in the universe, 42. So that's probably why he won.
So how much were the tickets?
There wasn't any. It was a giveaway.
Oh, just gave it away?
Check. You hear me now?
There you
Oh, yeah, we
go.
got you
You're
now.
back now.
Man, my dancing is dangerous. I'm telling you.
Apparently.
Hey, man, hey, stay away from the disco. That's all you got to do.
Stay away from the damn disco. Jeez Louise.
Could have been
All
worse.
right.
You could have broke a hip instead of your mic.
Man.
Yeah, we had go ahead and finish that discussion. You were talking about the giveaway because it was great. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Go ahead, Clover.
Oh no, it was just a great turnout. The sponsors were happy with it. Everybody seemed to be happy with it. So yeah, hopefully,
There you go.
Nice.
hopefully we can do that again sometime soon.
That's right.
Mhm.
All right. Well, speaking of the panel, let's go ahead and introduce everybody as if you need an introduction. But from South Carolina, we got the magic man himself, Michael Woodland from MW Tactical. What's up, brother?
Not too much. Another interesting week, and at the same time, I think we're catching a lot of headway with Operation Training Day. So
Yes, we are.
2019 is going to be fun and busy at the same time.
Yeah, I had a nice discussion with a couple different people today. One of them was Chris from Shoot and Move down in Florida. Had a long conversation with him. Things are going to work out awesome. Can't wait to do some of that stuff. I've got a call tomorrow morning with an ammo company. So
Nice.
we'll see how that works out as well. So yeah, everything's going great. I cannot wait. It's going to be a fun 2019, Mike. I promise you. We're going to be busy as hell.
Hey, I'm looking forward to it because I am all about getting some training in. That's going to bring back a lot of good memories.
That's right. Well, we're going to talk about those projects here in a little bit. But from Texas, we've got the tactical virus himself, Clover Tack. What's up, my man?
Oh man, living the dream. Living the dream.
Life is good, isn't it? Life is good.
Oh yeah.
A week from today is Christmas. I'm going to put this out there. There is a chance that we don't have a show next Tuesday. It's Christmas Day. But my wife and I and my daughter, we always go see a movie on Christmas Day. So I'll let you know.
Yep.
I'll let you know.
The movie yet?
No, I let my daughter usually pick it. So it's kind of her choice, and I don't know what we're going to watch. There's a couple good ones out there right now, though, you know?
There's a lot of chatter around my family about Aquaman. So
That's kind of the one my wife wants to see, but she has a crush on the guy. He was also in Game of Thrones, so she has a big crush on him. So she wants to go for obvious reasons.
That and then the Mary Poppins movie. I think it came out.
Oh, did it come out? I love me some Mary Poppins.
Or maybe it comes out tomorrow. It may come out tomorrow.
Yeah.
Or something. Yeah.
Casino Boss. What's up? Wheelchair Warriors out there. Calaveras is out there. Philo. Fully Loaded Clips out there. And I want to say I just saw a question from Calaveras. Movie? I used to work at a movie theater in high school, and I detested people like you. Seriously? That hurts my feelings, bro. All right, so Mad Sexy is sending me a text. Let me see what the man is saying.
Read it to yourself first.
Huh?
Read it to yourself first. You never know with him.
All right, so he actually wants to know why they say that Marines love crayons. I don't know. That started long before I was in. You know, I don't know why. Ask someone who's in a different branch, because the guys in other branches, Army, are the ones that come up with that kind of stuff. It might have been Navy that actually came up with the crayon thing. I don't know. It's just,
Well, I could tell you about why they say grunts are grunts. I could tell you that one.
all right.
And that was simply because of back in the day, you know, when you come into the military, you got to take a test for job placement.
And they grunted.
Yeah, and they was trying to say like only dumb people or people not as smart as the average person got sent to the infantry. You know, bullet catchers, whatever they said.
You know, there's something to that.
Somewhere down the line between Air Force and Navy, everybody else got pulled into the joke. So
yeah,
I'm thinking that's where the whole crayon situation come from.
So there you go. I don't know. I don't particularly care. It is what it is. If you can't,
it is funny though.
It is funny. I'll give you that. Snob's wife's out there. What's up?
Because when you went in front of other Marines in a different branch and you say it to them, you can see the flare start in the face and the eyes.
You know, that might not be a smart move if you're by yourself and you're in a group of Marines. You might want to be saying that as you're running away. You know, so it is what it is. All right, guys. Well, let's jump in this. I don't want to spend too much time on this, but we have to at least address the elephant in the room. Today, it was announced that by ends of the week, the Bumpstock ban through the ATF will be here. And the reality, there was a 157-page decision that I have not read yet. I've been very busy today. I really wanted to, but I think Clover's read at least most of it, if not all of it. And do you want to give us a little synopsis of what the article or what the decision was?
Ooh, I can. Yeah, it was
just the bullet points.
It's kind of hard to do, I guess. But officially, we've got today the my mind's going blank. What am I thinking? The final, what do they call it?
Report.
Final ruling. There you go.
Ruling. That's right.
Final ruling came down today. So it's actually 90 days from today. It'll go into the National Registry or whatever. So we got 90 days. I mean, to sue and get injunctions and all kinds of things can happen.
Which the GOA has already said they're going to sue.
Yeah, several organizations, not the NRA.
Of course not.
Several organizations have already got stuff ramped up. I haven't read all of those, admittedly, so I don't know where they're bringing the fight. I have read the 157 pages of the final ruling, and I highly recommend, as I do with pretty much everything, that you go read that. It's interesting, and it's interesting for several things. We may have lost a battle with this, but I don't think we lost a war with it.
Boom.
I know there was some talk out there. Is this the final straw for the Second Amendment and all this, that, and the other? No, I do not think so. The comments, you guys pouring the comments out and not just saying, shall not be infringed in the comments. And this is against the Second Amendment in the comments, but actually putting well-articulated, thoughtful comments, sharing the GOA and the SAF and all these other organizations, sharing their comments and stuff. If you read through the final ruling, they went through those comments. They went through the comments for, they went through the comments against, and they addressed certain themes within those comments. So they definitely looked at what we had to say, which is encouraging. One of the big things, I guess I'll hit on where it lies. There was talk about it being vague. We talked about that for a long time. This is vague, and this could apply to semi-auto receivers, and it could apply to this, that, and the other. It's no longer vague. It is pretty much pared down to where it only applies and can only apply to bump stocks or devices that are designed like a bump stock. It talks about redefining the rule or the language anyway from one pull, one function of the trigger rather to one pull of the trigger. So all this talk about, well, Mikulacek's going to have to cut his finger off. That's bupkis now. That was silly to start with, but you know, it has nothing to do with how fast your finger can work anymore. It has nothing to do with rate of fire. They addressed that. They said, hey, this is not about rate of fire. That's a whole different ball of wax. We would have to research and do this and do that. We understand the complexities of that. This comes down to one simple issue of you move your finger one time, and through a mechanical device, it simulates automatic fire. They addressed echo triggers with the one, pull and it fires, let off and it fires. That's two movements. That's two fires.
You're good to go.
That does not qualify. That is an exemption under their ruling. They said that does not apply. That is not what we are changing the definition. How are we rewording the definition? That would not fall under that. Now, with that being said, about that, they did listen, they did do their homework, they did pour over the comments, they have narrowed it down to a really specific thing. Does it suck that they've done this to Bumpstocks? Yes. Does it suck that they've demonized something that may or may not have been used in one crime? Yes. Does it suck that something has been added to now basically the Gun Control Act that technically, I guess, mechanically probably should not be there? Yes. But depending on how the fight is brought to the courts, and depending on how the courts weigh, and talking specifically about the Supreme Court here, I think specifically if we can get that Ginsburg seat.
No kidding, that'd be huge.
I see some silver lining here, in that should these organizations be able to get an injunction and ultimately defeat this in court, if they bring the suit the right way. And again, I have not read these suits. I see the potential to attack suppressors next. And assuming that all of this comes to fruition, that's something that we as content producers and advocates and whatever probably need to push with all of our might. Because the same ruling could be said and apply there for some of the arguments that they open themselves up for, and making them narrowly define this, right?
That's right.
We opened them up to potential issues because we're talking about overreach of the executive branch. We're talking about classifying something without a serial number, under the Gun Control Act, and several other things that suppressors would immediately come into play. So,
yep.
Keep the faith. Hope is not lost, I don't think, with this. That's my final opinion on it. And and like I said, 157 pages. It sucks, but go read it if you have a chance.
My initial thought on this is saying that I got an echo. Speaking of echo triggers. Anyways, my thing on this is, yes, does it suck that bump stocks are going to be banned? Sure it does, because we don't want anything to come out of gun control at all, period, in a sentence. But I will say this, the silver lining is it went from a very vague, broad, wide-stroked potential of a regulation to something that's very, very, very specific. Now, before you guys start howling at the moon and yelling at me and telling me that I'm, a FUD and all that, understand what I'm saying to you is this. I know that y'all are all upset with Trump and all of that right now. I get it. But hear me out. What's the one thing that can help the firearm industry become galvanized? The threat of gun control, correct? Not only that, but what has also happened in the last year in the gun industry, sales are down. Now, I'm not saying he's playing 3 or 4D chess here, but understand what's happening. I think that he and the ATF know that this is very, very weak and won't stand up in the court system. So, to piggyback on what Clover's saying, my initial thought is this. if it does go to court and it gets struck down, and like Clover said, it's handled in the court and the filing is done properly, we now have the ability to go after other devices, such as suppressors and all of that. Because what's happening here is this. I think they wanted to go to court. I think they had to appease a side that wanted something from this president. He said, fine, we'll give you bump stocks. But we went from a very wide stroke thing to something that's very, very minute that I think even the ATF will say it won't hold up in court. So what this has done is actually backfired on the left, because here's the thing. We might have bump stocks banned for a very short time, but what if this goes to court? The court strikes it down as unconstitutional and saying you cannot regulate a device that you've already defined as something else. You can't redefine something else to make it fit your thing. So they strike it down. Well, now we have precedent. And what have we learned from at least Mr. Kavanaugh, who's on the Supreme Court now? What have we learned about him? He's big on precedent. So now we're going to create a precedent that the court system can now knock off regulations of the ATF. I think this could, if handled properly, go down a road that we see a lot more positive come from this than negative. That's just my reaction. Mike, I want to bring you in real quick and see what your initial thoughts on it are.
I think the same thing is the setup was, or the alley-oop basically is more along the lines of, okay, let's get it to court, appease certain people, and just to shut them up. You know,
And then knowing it's going to get struck down, probably.
Correct.
Yeah,
and
I think that's what it is.
Yeah, so I mean that was like an easy look at when you really look at it like that, because I don't understand why people want to start taking away something, especially when you see the outcome, what's taking place someplace else, you know? So, and we already know gun control doesn't work.
Yeah. And when we're talking out there, and Clover's right, we're not talking about a law here. It is not a law. It's a regulation passed down to the ATF. And like I said, it's going to be very, very difficult for anyone in the court system to ignore the fact that the ATF has basically changed their interpretation of a regulation that's already been in place or hasn't been in place. They're reinterpreting something else, and I don't think that it's going to stand up in court. So I think that's what's going to happen is, once again, we're setting precedent now, especially if Ginsburg decides to retire in the next couple of months and we get to fill that seat. Now you're talking a major swing of events here that now we can actually hope to have some of these gun control bills that are out there and these laws, and regulations that are out there and have been out there, they've been tabled because the Supreme Court didn't want to hear them. Now we're going to start hearing them. And like I said, at least with Kavanaugh, he's a big person on precedent. Let's create a precedent so that now we can attack what we really want to attack. That's the NFA. We're talking major, major items here. So I think that this could play out in a positive way. Once again, I'm not happy that the bump stocks are going to be regulated. What I am saying is this. I'm going to take it some time and just see how this plays out. I'm not saying that President Trump is a mastermind. What I'm saying is he's not dumb, people. He's not dumb. You don't get to this position without being pretty damn smart. What were you going to say?
Oh, your comment on Trump.
Go ahead.
Yeah, he's not a smart guy.
He's not a smart man.
I think he is. He's just I don't know. I think he's inept at politics. Is a big issue.
Yeah, which is not a bad thing. In my opinion.
No, but we should have known that going in with Trump.
Oh yeah.
That part of the appeal with Trump is he was kind of outside the beltway or whatever, but then part of the potential danger is he's from outside the beltway. So
right,
it's that double-edged sword with him.
Now, Blue Steel there says there's no such thing as a positive gun law. You're right. That's what I'm saying. Let's try to get rid of some of the ones that are already on the books. Let's get rid of some of them. Let's call them out and say, I have a plan. I don't want to go into it. It's on a podcast. It's on a previous show. You guys go check it out. My plan is a very explosive and proactive attack on gun control. So that's all I'll say is go watch the Armed Citizen or listen to the Armed Citizen podcast from 2 weeks ago. It's episode number 6. Check it out, and that's my plan. Joe San's out there. All right, so enough of that. We can talk about that on Every Second Matters coming up, as I think that'll be a pretty hot topic in a couple of weeks for Every Second Matters. So I don't want to just throw it away, but there are more important things that we need to talk about in my eyes. And people say, well, what's more important than gun control? I'll tell you what's more important than gun control: getting more people to the gun community. In my opinion, that's more important than gun control, fighting gun control or fighting regulations, because if we have the numbers, then
yeah. And let me drive home that point.
Sure.
There was 2 comment periods, right? There was
That's
a
correct.
comment period for the proposed rule
Back
change
in December, wasn't it?
And yes, and then over the summer, through up in late spring, early summer, there was a comment period for the it was a proposed rule changes, and then it was the finalized rule changes. So there was 2 comment periods. We kicked butt on one, and you read the 157 pages, you see that it lays out all those numbers. We kicked butt on the first one, and guess what? We not so much on the second.
Yep.
There was a really, really big push from the Parkland kids. The whole, what is that hashtag movement they've got? I don't even remember how much I care. But anyway, that whole movement, they outvoiced us a little bit on that second one. They really did. And again, with 157 pages, they weighed all of that public sentiment in this final ruling. So we've got to bring people into the community, and not just bring people in, but bring people in that are going to voice their concerns and opinions, and voice them correctly and to the right people.
But it all starts with education. So when you bring people in, you have to educate them first about what they want to do with the firearm, and then express to them the importance of them understanding what's going on, what's being said, and everything before we can actually go that route. So it's a systematic process that takes place. It just isn't, oh, guns, so you have to break it down in some way. But it takes somebody to be a mentor to the new people, to gather up the troops, to help the word get out, so we can educate everybody on the same accord.
I agree. And before we actually get into how to bring more people in, I want to piggyback on what both y'all are saying is this. When we do, or if we are able to bring someone new into the community, please, please, please do not start the "Howl at the Moon shall not be infringed" speech right off the bat. You're going to put them in shell shock, and they'll walk away and never come back. Don't take them from being a non-gun person to try to make them an activist in one day. Let them come, experience firearms, let them become a gun advocate, and enjoy being around guns and deciding what role they want to take in the gun community, because not everyone in the gun community is an activist. So we don't want to scare them away. Let's bring them on slowly. And then, should they choose down the line to get more involved in the political side of things, let them make it their choice instead of trying to force it upon them. So, Tack, I know you're out there. If you want to, you got a link. I sent you a link. So if you want to jump in, you're more than welcome to. So let's start out. I want to start with Mike. And I know that you are both of you guys are heavily involved in bringing new people in through different programs and that you're working with. But when you're trying to discuss something with trying to bring someone that you may think is on the fence, whether they may or may not like guns or support guns, what's one of the ways that you try to kind of edge them towards the pro-gun side?
It all depends on if you can detect that they're open enough to put a firearm in their hand, then I'll take that approach. If I see that they're not willing to touch a firearm at all, then we'll go the history approach and just talk about events that took place in history that kind of led up to where we are right now.
There you go. Clover, just like I said, this is just kind of opening statements, but especially with the kiddos and all that. And I assume that most of the kiddos that come to the 4-H program are people that are already experiencing the thought of getting into firearms. But when you're talking with people that might be on the fence about going to the range, or other than that, what are some of the opening statements and what are some of the opening moves or plays to try to make them maybe think our way a little bit?
Well, you utilize the fact of other kids doing it. So, one of the plays is, one of my plays for a long time is bringing them in through archery, because they seem to think that that's safer, which in reality it's not. It's actually more dangerous as far as potential for accidents than the firearm side of things. Now, obviously, the firearm side has a higher percentage of those accidents, being worse when they do happen. But yeah, as far as total accidents, archery is going to be higher. All the pointy edges you're dealing with. But bring them in with something because they kind of feel safe, and then you can utilize the fact that there's 8-year-olds over there shooting pistol. That how can it possibly be dangerous, right? There's 8-year-olds over there doing it, for Pete's sake. Come on. And then reinforce safety, safety and oversight. And, so I think that when if you're dealing with an adult and somebody, especially who might be skittish or whatever, it's just reassurance that, hey, I'll be there, I'll help you out. I'll walk you through it. There's that compassion and willingness to truly pay attention to them, spend time with them, and help them.
Yep. Now we're going to leave it to Dano out there to throw a question that has zero to do with what we're talking about. Absolutely nothing to do with what we're talking about. I will address it for 2 seconds because it brings up something I want to talk about. He wanted me to talk about the commission over in Parkland to decide whether teachers should carry or not. It is what it is. I can't do anything about Parkland. Tack Daddy can, but I can't. What I can say is I'm putting a link out in the chat real quick. This is a news article about my local high school. And I think I've told you guys that this year our superintendent and school district decided to allow our teachers to arm themselves and carry at school, including open carry at school, as long as they go through 60 hours of training during the summer and 20 hours during the school year, along with law enforcement agencies and all that. It's a nice article, and the guy that's on the picture of it is one of my best friends. He is literally the Hall of Fame, probably the most storied track and field coach in the state of Arkansas's history, and he is picture of him open carrying up there in the gym. His daughter is my daughter's best friend, and it's a great story about a school district that is allowing teachers to carry and be the first line of defense. So go check it out. And I say kudos to Heber Springs School District and our superintendent for allowing that to happen. So there you go. Sorry. Thanks for Dano for that. All right, back to the discussion. Yeah, I think for me, the biggest thing that I try to do when I talk to people is, especially if they're asking me questions about guns, then this is the thing. If they're asking me questions about guns, then that's automatically, before I even start talking, telling me that they have at least somewhat of an interest in guns. If they come at me in a negative way, that's telling me they're not pro-gun and I can't change their mind. But if they start asking me about guns, they're at least expressing interest. So you feed on that and you try to make it personal. You try to make it easy for them to understand and say, look, I'm not asking you to be a tactical tool. I'm not asking you to go get training every weekend and go be part of the militia and do all of that. I'm not asking you to do that. All I'm asking you to do is, you've expressed interest about guns. Come with me to the range. You tell me what day and time and I'll be there. Give me half an hour to an hour at the range. I'll supply the guns. I'll supply the ammunition. I want to teach you the safe way to fire a gun, the safe handling of a gun, and we're going to try to make it fun. And at the end of the day, if you can honestly tell me that you didn't have a good time, then I'll never bother you again. And I think that we all, like I said, I say this all the time, I think we all remember what it was like for each one of us, everyone out here, that when we pulled the trigger for the very first time, having that little mini explosion in your hands, a foot away from your face is exhilarating. And I think if we can get more people to understand that some people like to hunt, some people use it for self-protection. You know what? Some people just shoot guns to have fun and relieve stress. And that's okay. That's okay. Whatever the reason is, as long as they're shooting guns and they're pro-gun, I don't care their reasoning. I don't need everybody to be carrying every day. If that's not your thing, that's not your thing. But if you want to go to the range with me once a week and shoot, relieve some stress and have some fun, come on with it. So I think that that's one of the biggest things we got to do is make it personal to these people and understand that we're not here to scare them. We're not here to turn them into that guy. We just want you to enjoy guns at whatever capacity that you want. So the next question I'm going to start with Clover on this one is, once you've kind of gotten someone interested and you've got them to the range or whatever, what are some of the things that you might do to help them enjoy their experience?
Come up with fun little games, and things like that. I mean, one of the biggest things that you need to do, I mean, get them on trigger time, live fire and stuff as quickly as possible. Right. And even if you're talking archery, get an arrow and let them sling arrows or lead or whatever it might be, as quickly as possible. You want to cover the basics, cover the safety. Don't beat them to death for 3 hours on form and all this other stuff. That can come later. Get them in, because odds are, whether they're letting go of a string for the first time or pulling a trigger for the first time, when they do, like you say, that adrenaline rush is going to happen, that excitement is going to happen, and they're going to instantly enjoy that. Odds are most people are that way. They see that there was nothing to be scared about. Wow, that was fun. I want to do it again. And then you can progress into form and that sort of stuff later on. Another thing is distance. Get them close enough they can hit something, get the target big enough that they can hit something, and be positive about it. If you throw up a silhouette and you put them at, let's say, 5 yards, and they're right on the ragged edge or the shoulder on the silhouette or something, it's good job. You took that guy down, or whatever. Be positive about it. I mean, that was a round on target, right?
Yep, exactly.
So give them credit for what they have accomplished, because remember, they're not you. That's right. And just being able to put a round on target was a major accomplishment for them.
Well, let's be honest. For some people, having the courage to actually pull the trigger for the first time is a big accomplishment for them.
Well, yeah, even if they don't hit the target.
Exactly.
Find something,
Yeah.
Hey, you handled that recoil well, or, something along that lines.
Warsaw Patriot says, what about dealing with FUDs? Because he's dealt with one and it's hard to change their view on supporting all guns. I'm not there to change the FUDs' minds. Once again, guys, I'm not here to change anybody's mind. I'm just speaking what I feel. And if you agree, awesome. If not, then maybe you'll consider what I'm saying later down the line. But here's the thing. I would, and the word FUD, I hate that word, because we're talking derogatory towards someone who's on our side. They may not be as big of activists as some of us are, but they're not anti-gun. Mm-hmm. And so as long as they're pro-gun, and I don't care if they care about our guns or not, they might just care about their own. That's fine. But at least they care about a gun. So I don't worry about trying to change FUD's minds. I'm just happy that at least they're on our side somewhat.
Well, and
so they're not against us.
And I worry about sometimes, and I'm not saying he was that way in his situation, but I'm worried sometimes that when people say that, when they say, well, I was talking with the FUD and this, and this, we just couldn't change his mind. Well, I kind of wonder what the conversation went like, because I'm wondering if your conversational tactics are not crappy. And that's the reason that you didn't get anywhere.
Right.
Again, they're technically on our side of the fence. Okay.
Correct.
So why not align with them somewhere, right? And try to create like a magnetic pull that pulls them further over. Oh, really? You hunt? What do you hunt? Oh, well, I've hunted that before. Or what do you hunt with? Oh, well, yeah, I like that caliber. Hey, you know what? We're on GunChannels and we all like guns and hunting and doing other things. And why don't you come over there and hang out and this, that, and the other? And then they get more involved into that community. Get them in and more involved, right? Somehow, even if it's just in the capacity of them, quote unquote, being a FUD and hunting, but get them more involved, and maybe it'll broaden their experience, and it'll broaden their opinions, and it'll broaden their exposure. And that's when you change minds. You don't change minds by standing there hollering at somebody, your duck hunting's not helping the Second Amendment, or,
right.
The fact that you only care about shotguns, you know, is not helping us. We need, you know, you can't force them to not be a FUD. What you have to do is you have to coax them out of that. And let's be honest, a vast majority of people out there that are pro firearm, pro Second Amendment people started out as FUDs. It was hunting, and then that was all they really cared about because they had to or because it was enjoyable. And somewhere down the line, they broadened their way of thinking.
Yep.
So let's try to nurture that type of a situation.
That's right.
But you know, to chime in off of what Clover said, you got to be careful also when you're talking and when people say certain things, like if they say assault weapons, you know, instead of going into the whole military definition of what an assault weapon is, just say commonly owned firearms. You know, red flag laws are gun confiscation orders. You know, high capacity magazines, you mean standard capacity, because that's, you know, where they come from the factory like that, you know, unless it has the 10 round capacity law and all other good stuff. So you just got to be careful on the terminology you use, because words have power.
Yeah, you're right. And Mike, I know you've been kind of keeping up with the chat, and you know, when I talk, I don't particularly pay attention to the chat. I know that you put some questions. Are there any questions that you think need to be addressed over there?
Right now, I think everybody is just whatever topic we jump to, they just jumping around and just giving their opinions. Nobody's really asking anything right now.
Okay,
but it's a good conversation going on in the chat, though.
There are. I'm catching up to it and all that, but I'm missing questions. But I didn't know if there's questions that you think that absolutely need to be touched on, or something we probably already covered. You know.
Yeah. Right now, it seems like everything we're talking about is we're ahead of the chat right now.
Okay. Okay.
So,
good.
But we're good. Like I said, you know how I do it. I'll put it on our inner chat.
Yeah, like I said, even some of those over there, I was looking at them, but you know, if you see something that needs to definitely be addressed, I might not even catch it in the inner chat sometimes. So just bring it up if you need to.
Will do.
Now Guitar Man Pete out there says he disagrees with the FUD thing, and I get that. Like I said, not everyone's going to agree. We don't have to all sit around a campfire and sing Kumbaya here. Just because we're all gun people doesn't mean we have to think alike, and we don't have to think the same way. So it's okay. My sentiment is this: anyone who is not anti-gun is a friend of mine, regardless if they're at the same level of proactiveness as I am or others are. Makes no difference, as long as I don't have to worry about them if it comes down to, you know, a rally or a vote or election. I don't have to worry about them. I'm okay with that. Not everyone is there to be an activist. Some people, like I said, some people are they just want to have their guns and be left alone, and I'm okay with that. So it is what it is. Beaver says a 110B still 33.8 Lapua. He was talking about trading. Someone wants to trade a 30-aught and a 270, I think is what it was. I have to look back up, but 30-06 and a 270 for a 338 Lapua. I think everyone that knows me, I'm not huge into long range, high caliber rifles, but the 338 Lapua is my favorite. So, sure, as long as it's not a crappy rifle. But most of the time, if they're going to be chambered in a 338 Lapua, they're probably not going to be crappy rifles anyway. So I would take a chance. And if you really want a 338 Lapua, then go for it. That's just my opinion. Anybody have any suggestions on the trade of a 270 and a 30-aught for a 338 Lapua?
That sounds like it's probably a good trade. I mean,
it sounds like it to me.
You know, he was real specific with the model on the 338.
Yeah. Yes, he was.
I mean, you're talking about freaking Beretta. I mean, not Berettas, but what am I'm losing my mind? Beretta Weatherby, or, you know, some high-end couple of rifles, then maybe not.
Right.
But at the end of the day, do you shoot those? Is that something that is worth a trade? And I will tell you this with a 338, as the owner of larger caliber, longer range stuff. If you do not have a place to shoot said 338, which I think he does, if I'm thinking correctly, he probably does. But if you do, then you might want to consider trading your quote unquote conventional range rifles for something that, you know, very seldom are you going to be able to get to a place to shoot it.
Warsaw says, I know we got to support the ILA, but the NRA is dying. What are your thoughts on joining the GOA and USCCA? We don't have to support the ILA. That's the thing. I don't support the ILA, which means I don't support the NRA right now. My money goes to the Second Amendment Foundation. It goes to the Gun Owners of America. And yes, my money does go to USCCA for my insurance. So I support those three amongst others, but those are the big three that I'm supporting at this moment. And I said even last week, there is a difference between what the NRA is and what the ILA is. It's all under one umbrella, but understand what most people are not liking about the NRA is actually the ILA. I think we can all agree that the old programs of education and training and instruction and gun safety and child development that the NRA programs were based on, we can all agree that those are wonderful programs. It's the ILA side of the thing that people are getting upset with. So once again, I think I'm very clear on that. If the ILA and the NRA would ever split, I would be 100% on board for a lifetime membership with the NRA. I just don't see it happening because the ILA takes the funds from the NRA to run, and they know that people are not going to support the ILA on its own. So it's not going to happen. Do you guys want to talk about this? If you guys want to, you can obviously say something.
Yeah, the the mention of the USCCA out there, I think is something that's odd to me. It has said the Second Amendment Foundation or the National Association for Gun Rights or several other. Yeah, I don't know that giving money to the USCCA would be that's considered.
My money goes to USCCA just for insurance. It's not kind for political reasoning.
Yeah, for political. I think that's kind of a niche move. I don't know that I would divvy out my money for that because I don't think there's a lot of things I don't think they would be involved in the fight on.
Yeah. Mike, you got anything about the NRA that you want to discuss?
I just don't like the whole concept of the money, because I think money brings out the evil intent with power. So for instance, if you're in a job capacity whereas you have a lot of influence over people, a lot of people don't know how to control that power and they will abuse it. And money is the root to some evil, but once you start getting into the realm and the pockets like that, that's where the corruption start, and then the cover-up start, and then the chaos and the hecticness starts, and then it's a web that you can't untangle until you just shut it all down and try to restart it fresh.
Right. All right, let's try to get back on track. I enjoy talking about these little things. Warsaw says, why you join both? I am a member of both. I joined the GOA. I've been a member of the GOA for several years. I've been a member of the Second Amendment Foundation for several years. I've been sending money for insurance for the USCCA for 5 years, 4 years, whatever it is. So it is what it is. Let's move on. All right. So bringing more people back into the gun community. And I think that we're trying to get off track here. I apologize for that. We have a tendency of doing that on the show, but it is what it is. We're going to get back. I'm going to ask a question to you guys, and it's going to be pretty simple, but I'll start with Mike. When you have someone at the range for the first time, and there's that moment where they kind of clicks in their head, like, oh, okay, I didn't know it was going to be like this, or this is fun. I didn't realize it wasn't as scary and all that. What's that next step? Is it to try to get them to instruction, or is it simply to try to get them back to the range a second time? What's your move?
Just to go ahead and try to educate a little bit more, because when you start shooting firearms, let's just happen to say if the person is excited about pulling the trigger, but you have to get them to understand focusing on the front sight post is how your shot placement is going to take place. Once that clicks and it makes sense to them, now the education portion of it is like dangling the carrot in front of the donkey as you're walking. So the more they start understanding the education process of it and what they need to do to become a better shot, the education is going to be the portion that pulls them back in a little bit more.
Awesome. Same question to you, Clover. What's the next step once you've got them there? What for you? What's the next step? Do we lose Clover?
He's probably muted.
Okay, he's muted, but I don't know if he realizes it. Yep.
Yeah, I was just muted.
Okay. Yeah. So I don't know if you heard the question.
Yeah, I did.
Okay. Okay. Go for it. What's your next step? Is it education or what is it?
Yeah, it's just to slowly start working on the form and the fundamental things, and then to try to get you got to try to get a feel for where they're going to go with this. You know, like you were talking about earlier, are they excited to the point now that they may want to compete? Are they excited that they're just going to hunt, or they're just going to carry for defense, or just maybe keep one in their house for defense, or maybe they're just going to keep one around that's not even necessarily for defense. They're just going to go to the range and blow off some steam every now and then. And then that's going to dictate how crazy you take it from there with the education on the fundamentals and form and stuff like that. There's no sense in spending hours a day in and day out with somebody on form and fundamentals if they're not going to compete. Not really a whole lot of sense in that. They can certainly have fun with just rudimentary skills.
Right. I'll say that part of this whole thing is if you are going to invite someone out to the range and shoot and try to let them have fun and introduce them to a safe, fun way of shooting. If you're those person like I am that says, hey, you don't have to worry about bringing guns or ammo, I got them for you. Make sure that you bring a different array of guns of different sizes, of different calibers, especially if you're talking to someone that is younger or someone like that may not want to shoot your 45 or your 44 Magnum. They might want to start with a 380 or 9mm or something like that, 38 Special, something like that. Make sure that you bring an array of guns and ammo, that they have different options, because the last thing we want to do is scare them right off the bat. And we don't want to sit there and say, here's my 12 gauge shotgun. Why don't you shoot this first? And then next thing you know, they're going to the hospital because they dislocated their shoulder. They're never going to go back to the range. So, just be thoughtful of how that you approach that. I think what Clover was talking about with the different, maybe you get some watermelons or some apples or something that if they can shoot that with a 22, that apple might explode. And that's kind of exciting for people, especially younger kids. And make it fun for them. Try to just let them enjoy themselves and don't push too much information on them. Like I said, don't try to make them an activist right off the bat. Let them enjoy, because just going to the range with you is probably a huge step for them, because they've probably been one of those, I'll never shoot a gun. But then they say, well, before I knock it, let's try it. So I think that I wouldn't start thinking about the 380 either. It's a very long and very tough trigger pull, but I'm just saying that they might have smaller hands. A 380, it might actually work for my daughter. My daughter likes a 380 because she has small hands. She's 5'1", 110 pounds. So, but I understand exactly what you're saying. But go ahead, Clover. You're going to say something?
First of all, with the 380 long trigger pull and all this other stuff, it completely depends on what you're shooting, right? I don't have that experience with my 380s. I love it.
Yeah. The Bodyguard has a long trigger pull.
The Bodyguard, is horrible. It's a horrible 380. And I'm not just saying that because I hate Smith & Wesson. It's a horrible 380. Right. And there's other ones out there just as well. The Tauruses are just as bad. Well, what was I going to interject? There was something that I was going to interject.
I'm sure it was something profound, man. It was probably life-changing.
What were we talking about before you got into that?
I was just talking about taking people out to have fun and making it, because there was a big deal for them just to go out to the range.
No, I got you now. One of a big motivating factor for people can literally be just maybe inviting him to a match that you're in, or inviting him to a fun shoot or a turkey shoot, or a fun day at the range or something like that. And not even invite them to shoot, just, hey, would you, hey, why don't you come out here and hang out with us? And and just them being around people shooting guns and having fun, and them seeing that it's all normal. There's nothing scary about it. It's just a normal way of life.
Right.
Sometimes can open them up. And that excitement, I guess, can be contagious in a way.
Sure. Now, I know Mike, when he goes out to his competitions, a lot of times he will bring a friend. And I know a lot of times it's maybe to videotape, but he brings different people to competitive shoots. And Let me ask you this. Are many of those people that you bring out, your friends, are they gun people, or is that their first experience being around guns? And if so, what's their reaction afterwards?
It's a mixture. Some people will just hit me up and say, "Hey, can I come with you?" Other people, I'll invite them to the range, or they'll come to me and say, like, "Hey, teach me how to shoot." So, like, I got one person who comes with me quite regularly for the last couple ones I've done, and she just wanted to learn how to shoot, but then she started taking a liking to it, and now it was more like, okay, explain this competition shooting you're doing. So once I explained it to her, now she understands like how that can work on the basis of what you're learning and your development.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a way of pulling people in a little bit more, so
Yeah.
try to keep the community growing, but once the interest's going, it's going to snowball. It's just a matter of how you present it.
Lisa is out there asking best gun for a woman. And we were trying to get Brenda on here, but she's actually writing a paper for college that she's procrastinating it probably a little bit and having to kind of come under the wire here. So we're going to try to get her on here pretty soon. As far as that's question, best gun for women, there is no such thing. That's my opinion. And I'll run this through the room here in just a second, but I say this. I know Gunpowder Beauty out there carries a 45 1911. So my daughter won't go anything. She'll shoot my shield 9mm, but that's about as big of a gun as she's going. So it depends on what you can handle, what's fun for you, what you're able to shoot without having bad mechanics. So to me, there's really no such thing as a good gun or a bad gun for anybody, much less a woman. I think what it really comes down to is what fits your hand well, what's going to allow you to have the proper grip and the proper muzzle control, whichever's going to have to let you see the sights the best, and you're able to control that trigger press or trigger pull, that you can control that firearm. And it's honest to God, it's going to be one of those things where you're just going to have to go and try a bunch of different ones. Hopefully you've got a range around you, Lisa, that will allow you to demo different guns. That, I would try a little bit of everything. You're going to know when a gun's too big or powerful for you. That's the reality. You're going to know. If you have a gun that feels good to you, and it's a 380 or a 9mm, and someone's telling you to go get a 45, but you like the way that gun feels and looks to your eye, and the trigger pulls nice for you, then that's the gun for you. You'll know when you find the right gun. Mike, you have anything to say about that?
The same thing is like if I'm helping somebody determine, especially a female, which gun feels comfortable in their hand, because it seems like for whatever reason, everybody tells the female, get a small gun.
Right.
And what I do is I bring out my shield, my compact, and my full size.
Mm-hmm.
And I just lay it there and be like, okay, point it at the wall, pull the trigger, and tell me which one feels better in your hand. And 95% of the time, they always say the full size. But it's only been like out of the 20 people, if I say 20 people done it, one person said the shield, but majority of the people said the full size.
Yeah. Now Lisa's out there saying MP40. I don't know if that means you have an MP40 or that's what you're wanting to get. If you have it and you like it, then that's the gun for you. That's the right gun for you. If you don't like it, then it's not the gun for you, whether it's too big or too bulky or too powerful or whatever. If you're not thinking positive thoughts about your gun, then you're never going to be as proficient with that gun as you possibly could be. So that's my take. Clover, what about you? Best gun for women.
Yeah, I mean that's like asking best gun for a dude, man.
Exactly.
It's subjective. Some are going to like a wide range, and then best is going to depend on what they're doing. Best for what? For carrying, for shooting competitions, for just having fun? What are we talking about?
Right.
And that's going to change as well, right? So that's the bad thing about it. There's no correct answer. To build on, all good stuff's been said so far. Mike covered most of the bases. The only thing I'll add is that if you have woman, man, it doesn't matter. And, you're going through and trying to determine, what size, what caliber, that sort of stuff. And they're trying different things. Make sure to not stop where you're comfortable, right? So, you know, if the 9mm and it's a certain one, and I really like this one, bump up to a 45, right?
And just try it.
Up to something, and it's whoa, that's too much, you know. Okay, cool. Let's go back down to the 9mm. That way, they have that perception that that's the one. You know what I'm saying? They don't have that nagging in the back of their head that there may be something out there better. You know what I mean? They've already experienced that, and they know that that 45 for them is not better.
Yep.
They don't like it. So then they're more comfortable and confident with that 9mm.
Now, the Gunfighter Tactical out there said, what's the most important fundamental a person needs to work on with shooting? That's a great question. We're going to run through the room. I'm going to say the grip. If you have a good, solid, fundamental foundation grip, then everything else can be learned pretty quickly. If you have issues with your grip, then you're never going to be as proficient as you could. Go back to Clover this time. Clover, what about you? What's the most important factor?
I'll echo grip, but not in the sense probably you're talking about.
Okay.
The one thing I see, and I actually seen this, I'm going to rag on Sarge just for a minute. I actually seen it in one of his videos the other day. Sarge was doing it. And he was out having fun, I'm sure. He wasn't trying to be accurate.
Right.
But, you know, as a coach in me, I'm just programmed to see things. And I real quickly picked up on when he pulled the trigger, I seen flex in his strong hand. And I'm like,
oh, yeah.
Ooh, you could see that strong hand thumb move. And I'm like, oh,
that muzzle's getting manipulated there. Yeah.
So practice your trigger pull with no movement.
Dry fire.
No, your hand, and you can feel your muscles move. Okay, no movement in your strong hand except for that second knuckle forward on your trigger finger. That's all it should move. That's all that you should feel move. That's the only flex that you should have. Is right there. For me, that's a biggie and something that I really pick up on quickly when I watch people shoot. Now, again, if you're out and you're just plinking around having fun, who cares? You know, we shoot from the hip, do all kind of weird things. So who cares? But yeah, if you're talking about wanting to really become proficient and accurate, I think that part, how your trigger pull affects your grip, is really important.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that whatsoever. I don't think there's a wrong answer because they're all important. Mike, what about you?
First I would say grip, and then go to trigger control. You know, because after you somewhat understand the complex of those two, everything else is easier to learn because that's like your foundation, in my personal opinion.
Yeah, and I'll say that for me, the three things that I work on every day in dry firing or in live firing, I always work grip, I always work trigger control, and that includes shooting from the reset. That's a skill in itself, shooting from reset. And the third thing is make sure that I'm focusing on my front sight. Too many people, especially early on in their gun lives, when they're at a range, they think they have to focus on the target. And if you're not focusing on that front sight, they say, well, I can't, if I focus on that front sight, the target's blurry. It's supposed to be blurry. It's okay. It's supposed to be blurry a little bit. But if you focus on that front sight and you make sure that everything is lined up, it's going to go where you're pointing. Okay. Understand that unless you're a precision shooter, you know, my thought is this: I don't care if I keyhole everything all the time. As long as I'm hitting the silhouette in a self-defense shooting scenario, that guy's going down. So that being said, the three things that I focus on, and I think the grip is the most important, but I just put all three of them at one. I put grip. They're all fundamental basics: grip, trigger control, and front sight. I think if you practice those three things on a daily basis, whether dry fire or live, you're going to find yourself improving a lot. Anything you guys want to add before we move on to the next one?
I think we hammered that horse enough.
I think so. Any other questions that you guys saw out there that we need to bring up?
Well, actually, I will mention a training aid, believe it or not.
Go for it.
And I think they're illegal in California. So, and that's a plastic straw when we're talking about trigger.
Yeah.
I don't know if anybody has ever done.
You put them inside the barrel.
Whatever. No.
Oh, okay.
Take that plastic straw. Get you some tape. You can use duct tape. You can use masking tape. You can use Scotch tape. Whatever. But tape that straw to your trigger finger, right?
Okay.
And then make a like you're gripping in the air, right? but you're not. Pretend like you're gripping. So make like a hand pistol, right? A finger pistol, and practice with that straw. That straw is going to give you a little bit of tension, just like a trigger would. And then practice your moving that trigger finger, and actually sit there and watch the muscles and the movement in your hand to better understand how all of that is working. And it's a really good aid, not just for visual representation, but muscle memory as well. You could do that while you're watching a TV show or anything, and just sit there and flex that straw.
Now your wife's out there saying pipe cleaners work too.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, I think that you're exactly right. There are so many different things that you can do. Training aids, if you want to call them that, simple things that you can utilize that are just lying around your house that you would never think. I'll tell you a dry firing exercise that I do every now and then. I'll put a number 2 pencil inside the barrel of my gun. When I pull a trigger, you'll see if you're jerking that muzzle somewhere, because it'll make a line on that wall. You know, you'll see what you're doing, and hopefully it's just going straight forward. So there's all sorts of things that you can do to help your fundamentals. Dry firing every day. I promise you, it sounds boring. It takes 5 or 10 minutes. Pull the trigger for 5 minutes while you're watching TV, dry firing at the house, and I promise you're going to get better. I promise you. You can't, this is going to sound weird, but you can't not get better. Does that make sense? It sounds terrible grammar, but you can't not get better by dry firing every day. And I know you're a big proponent of dry firing too, Mike.
Yeah, I do dry firing at least 30 minutes every night. Even if I'm tired, I force myself to do 30 minutes every night. But another drill that I like to do is take an empty casing and balance it on my front sight post and pull the trigger. That's another way you can, like Clover has said, like figure out where you need to be on the trigger, you know.
Yeah, and Clover said coins. I think it's the same principle. Something that can fall off the end of that barrel easily, you know, or the side or whatever is something that you can do. I was talking to a buddy of mine, Chris, from Shoot and Move down in Florida. I don't know if he's out there or not, but if he is, what's up, homie? We were talking today earlier, and we were talking about different things that we do at home and all that. And he does something that I've never thought about. I mean, I do this, but not to the extent that he does. He said that at the end of the day or whatever, before he takes his gun out of his holster for the day, it's a rule in his house. You have to get 50 draws before you put your gun down for the day. And that only takes you about 5 minutes at the most, maybe 3 minutes. But I thought, you know, I work on my draw all the time. I go from draw to transition to pulling that trigger and try to get everything as smooth as I can. But for him to sit there and say he works on draw, because especially if you're carrying every day, you're going to have different types of clothing on every day. So someday you might be wearing a Hawaiian shirt. Someday you're wearing a t-shirt. Someday you're wearing a sweatshirt or fleece or whatever. And if every day you're practicing your draw with whatever you have on, then you're never going to be unprepared if you have to use that in the real world. Do you guys practice the draw quite a bit or no?
I incorporate that into my my dry fire. So like I said, I do 30 minutes of dry fire. Then I'll probably do like 5 minutes of reloads. And then I'll do like probably 10 minutes of draw.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So I break everything down to time versus as repetitions.
Right.
You know, because now it'll force me, if I get faster, I'm getting more repetitions in.
Now, I know that you're probably also going from the draw with your, I'm assuming you do both your concealed carry holster gun, but also your competition gun. So do you spend a specific day? Like today I'm working on my inside the waist holster for my carry gun, the draw from that. And then tomorrow I'll work on my outside the waist for my competition rig. Do you separate those two when you train?
No, not at all, to be honest with you. Not at all. So what I normally do is every night, like I said, I put on my competition rig and I go for it. But when I walk out of the house, I'll probably, you know, pull out of the holster probably about 5 or 10 times just so I can, you know, get the sight picture and alignment. But at the same time, understanding if something happens, I'm not going to the side of my hip, but I'm going to appendix.
Yep. I hear you. Now, Dano out there wants to know if you can help him get a better understanding of the penny on the front sight of the slide. Is a striker released by itself, or will it lock the penny off the slide itself? I tell you what, Dano, you can email Mike at info at m-wtactical.com, and I'm sure he would, or you can call him. He can give you his phone number or whatever, but I'm sure he'd love to have the discussion about that, because he can probably talk about that for an hour. So,
but you can do, I know for a fact, on a rounded barrel with no sights on a 22 rifle, put a penny, a dime, a quarter, whatever, a coin, and balance it on there. And if you're doing everything you need to do, I've proven this over and over and over and over again. If you're doing everything you need to do form wise and all of this other kind of stuff, you can fire that 22 rifle.
Yeah.
And the coin will stay on there. So there's no way a striker's knocking it off if you're doing it right.
Right. If you're doing it right.
Or even a hammer. If you're dry firing a hammer fire, there's no way.
Yeah. No, I agree. Anything else we want to talk about that in the chat, or we move on to our last segment? It's up to you guys.
I'm open to either way.
All right, well, let's move on to the next segment, and then we can go from there. The last segment we're going to talk about tonight is our plans and projects for 2019. It is coming up on the beginning of 2019. We're talking New Year's resolutions for what we wanted to personally do, not just with our channels or with our content, but as gun owners. So I want to kind of start out, and we'll start with Clover. And this might take us about half an hour with Clover, because I'm sure he's got a lot of stuff he wants to do in 2019. One of them is get a strike taken care of, but I'm just messing with you.
I don't care.
What are some of the things that you've got planned, or that you're looking forward to, either with the channel or in your personal life, for 2019?
One thing I'll hit on this, and it's been something I've been wanting to do for a while, and it will not only will it better the channel, but now since you've got the community with GunChannels, I've got my other platform and the potential stuff going on there. I'll talk about that here shortly. And then Full 30 now out there.
I was going to bring Full 30 up as well.
It would be advantageous, and something I've been thinking about doing and putting off and whatever, to obtain an FFL.
There you go.
That would help facilitate more content. It would make it easier to facilitate content, potentially be able to offer deals to people out there. I mean, there's certain bulk buys and special deals that distributors put on, quite regularly, where if you buy 5 of this, right, or half a dozen of that, or whatever, you get a really good buy. So, if you've got those, enough people to get in on that, you could, even if you weren't in on it yourself, right? You could say, hey, if there's 5 people that want this particular firearm for this amount of money, let me know, and we'll get this deal going, or whatever. So I think that could be cool. Obviously, manufacturers being able to send stuff straight to you, is nice. But then the added, being able to, obviously on the personal side, to be able to add to your collection through acquisitions through auction or whatever the case may be, and just being able to put that out there and advertise and get people in and potentially be able to further help facilitate not just somebody becoming accustomed with firearms or learning the firearm life, but be able to actually sell them said first firearm and stuff, I think could be cool.
Exactly. Yeah.
So that's something that I would really like to get a little more serious about in 2019. I talked a little bit about my platform over there, which is a semi sort of social media type thing. It's kind of like Facebook, Texas only site. Like I said, works kind of like Facebook. It's been sort of on live support for a while. Recently, some things have come to light that may spark new growth and all kinds of cool things with that in 2019. So looking forward to potentially doing that, and that could give us as content creators, could give us a place obviously to open up and drop stuff over there, another community to talk to. Of course, if you're out there and you're from within Texas, it could give you a place to hang out with like-minded people, meet up, trade, buy, sell, trade, do whatever you want freely. And then from a channel perspective, oh Lord, going into SHOT Show, honestly, the strike on YouTube, I've said this over and over, I'm kind of over it. I don't really care. You find a way, right? And I've been doing other things, and As far as seeing a loss on the YouTube side because of that, I haven't necessarily, except for maybe in engagement. There's quite a few that I don't necessarily see because I don't have the live stream capability. I don't see them commenting. I don't see them over on Instagram or Facebook or something like that. So the only opportunity I have to engage is here, when I'm on a panel. That's kind of sad. I wish they would jump over and be more of a part of the community in other places, because I think we have to branch out. The Farm Friday podcast, I mean, that's something that I've been putting a lot of time into lately. It's going well, but it can be better. I mean, there's definitely room for growth. A produced version of that needs to be a lot more polished, I think. The live is inherently raw, right? You don't really have to worry about it. With the produced stuff, it can be better, and that's my goal, is to make that better. Hopefully, with some connections through SHOT Show and bringing some other industry people and stuff, getting them lined out for that show, we can make that really work. I want to bring back the Wednesday show in some shape, form, or fashion. And I'm excited to see, talking about other platforms, excited to see what Full 30 has to offer, what GunStreamer has to offer in 2019. It appears at this point like GunStreamer has got some awesome things in the works, and excited to if they can get live going,
they will. We're about a month or two away, I think.
Hopefully, start facilitating lives again through there, and pretty much be GunStreamer exclusive content, more or less.
Right. I'm looking forward to that as well.
Yeah.
GunStreamer and Full 30 are a couple of platforms that I'm excited about, which is interesting because I was kind of against the Full 30 thing there for a while because it was a good old boys cliquish type thing. But I've been over there, and you have been over there. So it's been over there for a few days, less than a week, but a few days on the forum side of things. And I'm really digging what's going on over there. It's kind of a mixture between a Reddit and a Facebook. It's a lot more open and more happy than a Reddit, but it's not quite Facebook either, but it's similar, but I'm enjoying it so far. And there's a chance, I don't know what the chances are, but from what I'm hearing from the people over there, there's a chance that maybe they would be willing to get me and you and some others actually to be able to get our videos on Full 30 here in the near future. So could be interesting. But like you said, GunStreamer for me is where it's at. I cannot wait for GunStreamer to come out live. I plan on having at least one GunStreamer live event. And I know that people have been pushing pretty hard, Clover, but we might have to do an occasional Ghost and Clover on GunStreamers. I think people have been kind of pushing that pretty hard.
That may need to be the new home for it.
That may be the new home for Ghost and Clover. No doubt about it. Mike, what about you? Plans and projects for 2019? I know you're busy, man, too.
Oh, man. So outside of Operation Training Day,
yes,
my biggest push for 2019 is to get my classification up in the USPSA limited division from a C-class shooter to an A-class shooter. I think it's going to be an easy turn for me to get there, depending on how difficult the matches are. But I'm going to challenge myself and start doing a lot more level 2 matches within the USPSA. But at the same time, that same goal is intertwined two ways. Getting my classification up to at least an A shooter, and at the same time, trying to get on a shooting team, preferably Walther.
There you go. You and Gabby can start hanging out.
Oh yeah. Like I said, if I get to hang out with Gabby, I will be.
I think that she's either pregnant or she's already had the baby, but she's not shooting much right now. I don't think, is she?
Correct, because she already had the baby.
She already had the baby. Okay, I knew she was pregnant, but I didn't know when she was having it.
So you got to give yourself that time frame. Was you just can't drop the baby and then go. I'm go back to my regular life
and dominating. Yeah.
Exactly. So. But like I said, though, if I get the chance to hang out with her, I will talk her ear off because I will ask nothing but questions.
That you're there for. And to a certain extent, I think that she realizes that she's an ambassador of the shooting sport. And she is one of the headliners out there. So I think once you reach that level and you're a national and world champion and you're recognized as one of the top in the world, I think they have to understand that that's part of it. Is you're going to spend a lot of your time, especially between stages. And, there's sometimes, if you ever shot a competition, sometimes you're waiting an hour, hour and a half to shoot stages. That's when the conversations are going to happen for sure.
Yeah. I do know that she was up at, I think it was the FBI Academy.
Oh, yeah.
She became like an honorary instructor there because she was given a speech on better ways to instruct women and the way to approach the mindset when it comes to instructing with firearms. But I do know like that was like recently, like last week, I think.
Yeah. Well, guys, my plans for 2019 are, man, I got a bunch of them. Obviously, Operation Training Day is in the forefront, and that's a collaboration between Mike and I. And we're trying to get Clover. We're trying to get Clover to jump on board, at least maybe for a couple here or there, if they're close to him and all that, and some stuff that he might want to do. I know he's not real big on going to training classes because he can go out the backyard and practice all he wants. We're trying to bring Clover in on this just a little bit, if nothing else, to have a little fun. But G's might come down. I know Tack's going to meet us out there when we go shoot with Pincus. Tack's already said he's going to meet us out there. I think KD's going to go out there. I think the Pincus one might be kind of like the meetup where everyone, if they can get out there to Pincus, that might be where everyone meets up at. But anyways, Operation Training Day is in the forefront right now. We're trying to do something that we don't think has ever been done before, at least the way that we're doing it, to the scale that we're doing it. Mike and I and Clover and some other people, we're going to spend the next year going to different training facilities, taking different types of training classes from a lot of different training instructors, both big names and people you never heard of that might be up and coming. And we're going to present you guys with a catalog. If you're thinking about training or you think about you might want to train, we're going to give you some different reviews that are unbiased and fair reviews of the classes, the instructors, the curriculum, everything about it, where they stay, the food. I mean, it's going to be all encompassing. And we're going to talk about different things that might help you make a decision if you want to. So that's Operation Training Day. We're looking forward to that. Obviously, we have Drill of the Month. That's my next biggest one. We're going to take that to the next level. I want to say thank you to Venture Gear Tactical. Andy and Larry have very graciously decided to come jump on board and be part of Drill of the Month. They are going to be the official eyes and ears, and they are going to be giving out monthly prizes to the winners for Drill of the Month. So thank you to Venture Gear Tactical. We look forward to that awesome relationship both Mike and I do. And then obviously just the drills and all the other content that I'm doing. I love this thing. I wish I could do it full time. It feels like I am doing it full time. I do it enough that I could have a full-time job, but I actually have another full-time job as well. But I enjoy it. I can't wait for SHOT Show. I'm going to SHOT Show a little bit differently. I think Clover would agree than we were last year. Last year, it was trying to get to meet as many people and to get as many booth reviews as we could. This year, we've already got a lot of contacts. Now it's galvanizing these relationships, creating and sparking new relationships on the business side, and obviously getting the product reviews done as well. But I think that there's a chance to really become more part of the industry instead of the community, which is always fun. Armament and Axe is out there, sends $2 in the super chat. Thank you, brothers. Says 2A strong. Right on. 2A strong. 2A every day, as Tardot likes to say. But my 2019 is just going to be one of those things where I'm going to steal Clover. See, I'm going to keep my head down and work my ass off and see what happens at the end of the year. And hopefully you guys enjoy the stuff we're putting out. Cannot wait to see, like we said earlier, what GunStreamer is doing out there. I really think that GunStreamer could be it. We've been waiting. We've got other platforms that are out there that are trying. They have tried to do it and never did work. We have some out there that are trying to do it right now that may not have the funding or the ability to be what they want it to be. GunStreamer has the people, it has the funding, but more importantly, it has the relationships with the creators and the fans and the viewers. And I think that GunStreamer is going to be the one that we've been waiting for a long time. So I'm interested to see what happens with Ashley and Paul and Austin and all those guys over there. They already know what we think about them. We know what they think about us, but it's going to be a relationship, I think, that works for a long, long time. But yeah, I can't wait to see what 2019 happens with GunStreamer, because they've only been going since March, guys. They haven't even been in a year, and look at the headway they've made in just 9 months. So It's going to be really, really interesting. So we're going to start kind of sweeping the doors. You don't have to go home, but you got to get the hell out of here. We're going to start with Mike. Got anything you want to plug? I know you had a video drop today, and do you have anything you want to plug or anything like that?
Yeah. So you already know, like I said, every Tuesday we drop a video. So if you haven't done so, please head on over to GunStreamer or YouTube, look up M-W Tactical and check that out. But please go to www.m-wtactical.com, which I call the one-stop shop where you can check out everything I'm a part of, from Facebook and my Instagram page, which you can find me under M-W Tactical, and follow my journey to get my classification raised to an A-class shooter and to get on a professional shooting team, as we already talked about. Even the links where you can catch up on the Black Man with a Gun podcast with Kim Blanchard and myself, the M-W Tactical channel, where we do product reviews that we put out every Tuesday on GunStreamer, YouTube, UGEtube, and GunTube. You can even click on the link and donate to the GoFundMe campaign that we're going to keep open until the first of the year. But click on the link to become a Patreon also.
Well done. Well done. Man, it's just smooth now. It's just smooth.
Oh, yeah. So I guess I'm
It's
not
like
under
a
the
hot
clock.
knife going through butter, man. It's just smooth.
Hey, long as I'm not under the clock anymore, I'm good.
You're no longer under the clock. You're in the golf where we say you're on the clock. You're no longer on the clock. You've caught up with a group ahead of you. So you're good. Clover, what the hell you got going on, buddy?
I think Clover fighting that mute button is winning.
I think that mute button kicking his ass, honestly.
I'm here. Yeah, we got the newsletter that'll drop tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock. So if you're not signed up for that, go to clovertech.com, scroll to the bottom, sign up for the newsletter, of course. There's a couple of things in there that will, you'll get kind of first notice on a couple of things that will break later tomorrow. And then what else? Oh, we've got the giveaway, the Primo Targets.
That's right.
Giveaway. I think it is a 1/2 inch scale steel torso.
Mm-hmm. The silhouette side, the silhouette style.
Yeah, 3/8. I believe it's 3/8 inch. Comes with the 2x4 base and the 2x4 topper. So everything you need minus a 2x4 basically to get out there and shoot some steel. I think we figured it up the other night, and over $100 value there. Really nice target. So that is on the Instagrams. You can't miss it. So get over there on Instagram. And again, you can get the Instagram through the website, through clovertech.com. Get over there, get entered to win that. We will give that away in a little under a week. We'll give it away this coming Monday.
Awesome. As for me, I'm actually working right now the last 2 days really hard. There will be, by the end of this week, will be a complete revamp of our website. It's going to have a different style, a different look, easier to flow, going to look nicer. So I'm really working on that. I've been working hard the last 2 days I should say today I wasn't really working that hard because I was on the damn phone for most of the day, but I'm trying to, hey, what's up, Primo? Speak to the devil. We're just talking about you. Clover's talking about the giveaway. So guys, go check out Primo Targets, especially on Instagram. He puts some really awesome pictures over there. Primo Targets, go check them out. And if you're listening this in podcast form, it's Primo, Primeaux. If you're from the Louisiana area, you understand what that means. Primo Targets. But anyways, for me, it's the new website will be coming out. So you guys won't even notice it, until you go to the website. I'm not going to announce, hey, the new website's up. It's not going to be anything crazy. It's just going to be a new design. You've got Drill a Month out there. This month is called Casino Royale. You've got till New Year's Eve to get the videos submitted. We've already got several sent in already. Next month, when we start the giveaway prizes for Venture Gear Tactical. So next month, the prize starts coming out, and we're doing some collab with Mike over there. He's going to do some instruction on that. So we're taking Drill a Month to a whole nother level as well. But other than that, guys, go check out the podcast. Go check out the Instagram. Follow us on Facebook. Follow us on Instagram. If you go to the website, it has all of our social media links. Go ahead and give us a like or a follow on all of those. Make sure that you're connected to us in every way possible. We want to say thank you for always watching. Thank you for listening to this podcast. Thank you for listening to the Armed Citizen podcast. Really enjoy making those podcasts, and it's kind of really been an awesome part of 2018 for me, but I'm looking forward to it. Once again, guys, I do not know if we're going to have a show next Tuesday. It is Christmas Day, and like I said, my family and I, we usually go out to a movie on Christmas Day. If we can go to maybe to a matinee or something, I'll have to let you know that day. But if not, and I don't get to see you guys, please, please, please have a very Merry Christmas. Spend some time with the family and enjoy each other and enjoy the love that's always in the air around Christmas time. So, and remember what Christmas is about. It's not about always just getting gifts and all that. Remember the people, the men and women that are in uniform who cannot be home for Christmas. Keep them in your prayers. Make sure that you do something for the veterans. There's a lot of veterans that are homeless, especially during the Christmas time where it's cold. Go out there, give them some food, give them a blanket, help them out, help out all the homeless, but especially if they're veterans. There's some people that are out there that don't choose to be homeless, but they are. And so please keep them in your thoughts and prayers as well. And we will see you guys next Tuesday. And thank you again for watching. We will see you soon, and Merry Christmas. Semper Fi.